Hello, film world. I am the Patrick, your host of Tomorrow Comes Movies, the podcast that, spoiler, talks movies. And each episode, I'll be joined by a guest co-host from a roster of movie fans to varying degrees. Welcome back, and thank you so much for tuning in. And note to self, never, ever go clean shaven if you're not entirely sure you have to film a new intro for a podcast episode. That's what I did because this particular episode has been in the can for a while, and I realized I had to do a new intro. And if I would have known that, I would have just rather looked like a bearded bum. But anyways, what are the announcements? So I am currently, I believe it's today I announced on social media. If not, it'll be entirely announced on social media. I am on a 2 to 3 week break. Creatively and personally, I am burnt out. These are first world problems here, but yeah, I just need a little bit of a break because I need to get episodes out too. And also I need to go outside and go back to the movies. I need to start living for a little bit, folks. So if you are somebody who is going to be coming onto the show for Hidden Gems of Cinema, no worries. I believe I contacted everyone, hopefully. If not, I have posted it. If you're listening to this, just know that I will reach out to you as soon as I am back from break. But I have a bunch of episodes I need to get out, including this one. So anybody who came on for the action series, that is something I'm working on, or anybody who's come on for Hidden Gems of Cinema so far, working on that. And of course, there's a couple other things, other projects that I have teased, and those will be coming out as well. And one last thing before we introduce this episode's guest co-host, when it comes to the music intros and the voiceovers for those intros, because of this episode dealing with technology for the movie we're going to review, I just want to state, because I feel like this has been brought up to me a couple times, any type of music, whether it's any score that is made and any voiceover you hear for the movie series intros, they are all made by humans. There is no AI. That is my number one rule when I work with anybody that does this for me for my podcast. If you use AI, I'm not interested. I hire real people. I hire real composers. I hire real voice actors. And that is something that I'm very proud of, because as somebody who is a creative person who also wants to get into the arts, yeah, you can't hire AI. So I just want to state that, because somebody did ask one time and I was like, no, I don't use AI. These are real people that make the music, and those are real actors that do the voiceovers for me. So this particular episode features a first-time guest co-host. Now, this one's been in the can for such a long time that by the time I edited it, it felt like I was listening to it it basically was the first time I listened to it since we recorded it, and it felt like I didn't even remember half the conversation. And it was a wonderful, fun conversation with this particular guest co-host. But this is an awesome Twitter mutual of mine who also happens to be a fellow Discord member of the Movie Friends podcast. And I had a very fun conversation where they teach me all kinds of things that pertain to this movie that we're going to review that involves technology. But please welcome my awesome Twitter mutual and fellow Movie Fans podcast Discord member, Seanshank. How you doing, Seanshank?
Good. How are you? Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
I am good. I do love your name. I was convinced, and I know we just talked about this in Discord, but I thought this was your last name, and I was like, what a cool name. But can you tell us real quickly here the origin of Seanshank?
For me, it's completely random. So Seth and Michelle of the Movie Friends podcast have a friend, and someday she named me Seanshank, and that's it. I thought it was great. Sometimes the best things come from randomness. And Shawshank Redemption, it's in my top 4 letterbox. It will forever be top 2 for me. So
Wonderful movie. I saw it in theaters, I think back in September, maybe. Very good. Yeah, but yeah, your name, that's a cool name. I wish I had a cool origin story for my name. I just put a "the" in front of it and dropped the "K," and it's just stuck for 18 years. It's just, I mean?
Yeah, that's the way it goes. And well, you did answer one of my questions, which is if you spell your name without the K, and I guess you do not.
No, yeah, it is technically legally with that K. You're in a group Shawshank, and every time I bring up one of these names, it always perplexes people. But when you're in a group with guys like Ray, the first guy on my podcast episode, and you're with another guy, we're just gonna redact him because he's not in the picture anymore. And then you have another person named Big Sausage. You can't just show up as Patrick with a K. You got to
That's
do
true.
something. So I was just like the Patrick, and then somebody, I think it was like someone was like, drop the K, you'll be different, and it kind of rolled. But yeah, welcome to the show,
Thanks.
and we're gonna do this thing called the introduction. Now, I'm gonna try to stay focused because I've had people on here, and I'm a talker, Seanshank. I'm gonna call you Seanshank. It will never be anything else in my mind. I see
That's
above
fine.
your head, Shawshank. But this introduction is for me to get to know you, also the listeners to kind of gauge your interest in movies and things like that. So, right off the bat, what film or films made you realize you love movies?
Wow. I would say 1994 really was a big year for me. So I've mentioned Shawshank. Fairly sure I saw it in the theater. I um I also, saw Pulp Fiction in the theater, saw Forrest Gump in the theater. Um I would probably say Shawshank and Pulp Fiction, definitely. I think both movies, Shawshank obviously touched me in a way that, it touches a lot of people. And then Pulp Fiction expanded my mind as far as what a movie could be. So I really do think 1994 was a pivotal year for me. Um, I consider my favorite movie to be Days Confused. I'm sure that also, I watched that multiple times a year as a teenager, and certainly as a movie that has a unique structure to it, and that it sort of doesn't have quite much of a structure. But certainly movies like that expanded my mind. I get my love from film from my father too. So I know he showed me lots of movies that might surprise people considering how old I was, because my parents didn't care about R-rated or nudity or anything like that. But my answer is probably Pulp Fiction and Shawshank, and maybe to a lesser extent Forrest Gump. I mean, look, man, it's Forrest Gump.
Mhm. Yeah. Wow, our dads are similar. My dad was not worried. I've talked about this many times about I've seen all the movies you saw in 94, and yeah, they had a profound impact. Pulp Fiction definitely, because I was just like, whoa, this is nothing like I've seen as a kid, you know. But Shawshank Redemption, it's movies like that, and then you mentioned Dazed and Confused, where when I had watched them as a kid, I thought they were good. Well, Dazed and Confused, I was a stoner, so it definitely hit differently for me. But they both were good. But when you get older and you kind of rewatch these movies, you have a little bit of life experience. It's a different type
Yeah.
of feeling with those movies, like Dazed and Confused, right? I just saw that on 420, and I used to be like, "That's the coolest movie," like because I used to get high all the time, and then now I'm looking at it and I go, "Oh, they're trying to tell me something about the different generations, kind of having to." This tug of war, and I was just like, wow, it just felt like a completely different movie. Where back in the day, I was just like, all right, oh, that movie's so good. But I have to say, impeccable movie taste, sir. I
Oh,
really have to say, not
thanks.
one bad movie. Now let's go over here. Do you still go to the movies?
I rarely did. Um, I don't know why. I think I'm gonna give you the short answer as to why I don't really. My home's real comfortable. I got I got a very expensive TV, a very expensive PlayStation 5, PS5. I have a very expensive sound bar. It's quiet. Like I live in a very quiet house too. Like I'm very grateful for that. I don't know. Like it just for me, like I can get I can get such a great experience at home. It takes a lot for me to be like, well, I want to sit with a bunch of people, and now with like the assigned seats, is someone gonna be sitting in my assigned seat? That happened with Sinners. I went to go see Sinners, and man, someone was sitting in my seat, and like the movie had started. I ended up being a little late. I ended up finding a seat someplace, but like it's like this is the pits. So I get it. I used to work in a movie theater. I worked in a movie theater for 5.5 years when I was a teenager. Like I would go, then it was free. I would go all the time. I still cherish those movie experiences that I've had, but I don't know. The thing that gets me out of the house is concerts. So, I guess for me, like the concert experience, maybe the concert experience has ruined the movie experience for me. I don't know. Because, like, hey, man, they're there. They're right there. I don't know. So that's a long rambling answer as to no, I very rarely can get my butt out to go see a movie because I got plenty of movie at home to watch now.
You're the first person that actually doesn't really go to the movies, and I actually, as much as I think you know this for sure, I go too much.
No, it's great.
But I respect what you said because there's a lot of factors that you brought up, like the sign seating, someone sitting in your seat, and it can never be as simple as like, "Hey, you're in my seat." They always have to like retort back, like, "Are you sure that this is your seat?" And you're like, "Yes, I'm talking. Yes, why would I be interrupting you?" You know what I mean? I did this. This happened to me where somebody sat in my seat, so I looked at the app and I found out where I thought they were sitting. So I went to go sit there, right, Seanshank? Well, I felt like a jerk because 10 minutes later, another person comes up and she's like, "That's my seat." And I'm like, "Where's this guy sitting?" So then I said, ma'am, I'll get up. No worries. And she goes, "No, no, I'll just sit the next row down." And I just felt horrible. But, I'm like, come on. But yeah, I mean, if you have, if you're comfortable at home, it's not a big deal because, like, at the end of the day, I mean, what the rest of us are dealing with is improper theater etiquette. People sit in the seats, obviously. Like I'm having this issue right now where projectionists only play the same 5 trailers for the next 9 months. Like I've seen like when reminders of him was coming out, I swear to God, it was in every movie. Shawshank. I was just like, is there anything else coming out in March? Please, for the love of God, give me something else. You know. But even though you don't go, would you say that you are still a supporter of the theatrical model for movies?
Yeah, of course. Like I mean, I'll just say overall, I'm not hey, this is what's right for me, it should be right for everyone else. Like, not at all. Like I do sometimes wish I could get my butt out and go see a movie in a movie theater because it is special. Like, I went to see Stop Making Sense, the Talking Heads, you know, uh movie. And I saw it in IMAX. I was like, hey man, this is one of the greatest concert films ever made. My father is the reason why I owned the VHS of it. That was my father's. I mean, that's how important Stop Making Sense is to me. So I had to go see it, and people like it was that was a great theater experience because in that case, people were like dancing, not like getting, but you know what I'm saying, like people were into it because it's a concert film, and that shared experience of Talking Heads fans, that was wonderful. Um, I saw Godzilla -1 in the theater, and I'm grateful. I'm grateful I saw that in the theater because that scope of kaiju, that they produced was very impressive in the theater. I went to see Bjork had a concert film a year or two ago, and hearing the theater surround sound for her concert was a wonderful experience. It really was. And so the name of the film escapes me, but you can Google it. Anyway, so yeah, so I want to be clear with you that like I've had positive concert experiences, and maybe partially because I'm very choosy about what I go to see. So does that make any sense?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I just want you to know that I didn't know what Stop Making Sense was until just recently because I didn't know what it was. I've heard of it, but I was just like, oh, but yeah, like I'm very limited with what I listen to. Shockingly,
That's fine. Yeah.
I was gonna ask you. Usually, the first question is like, how do we meet? But I didn't think you would remember this, so I was just gonna bring it up, and you kind of like actually segue into the concerts. There was one time in the Discord, I think you were talking about one of us was watching something and we ended up having a conversation where we was talking about concerts, and you made me laugh. Was this joke was like these poor people had to watch you and I go back and forth having a conversation about concerts in a now watching section, but it was actually really helpful, and I can't thank you enough because I struggled to go into the Discord of movie friends because I didn't know. I'm not very good at internet interaction. I'm more of a let's meet face to face. Let's have that kind of conversation. It's easier to, as you know, it's easier to kind of get to know each other, right?
100%.
And so it was really nice to have that conversation because I think outside of anybody who actually knew me, you were the first one to really have this conversation because I had disappeared for like 6 months after I went in, I think. I get in the server and I go, all I would say to you guys, like, I hope you're all doing well and like you guys are drinking water. I didn't know what to say, right? Disappear for like 6 months. And then one day I go, I'm just going to start putting in now watching. And then eventually you
Yeah.
and I talked. And then another interaction we had was talking about John Woo movies where we were talking about the Hong Kong classics, The Killer, Hard Boiled, and I think maybe A Better Tomorrow. But you were telling, I was saying like they're on sale somewhere, and you were saying that you had got a set of them from the Shout, I believe the Shout release, and then you got a friend of yours the same collection. And I thought that was so cool that you did that because we don't really hear that very often. People doing things like that for their friends anymore. It seems like we're stabbing everybody in the back.
Hmm. Well, he's the one that introduced me. So, like, I know he was a huge fan and he'd been waiting for The Killer and Hard Boiled to be released again. So, he's my best friend. I've known him since I was like 21 and I'm 47, So, I've known him for 25, 26 years. I talk to him. How many, I'm not saying, but like, he's a guy friend, but I'll talk to him once a month for 2 hours on the phone. He's in New York. I'm originally from Long Island.
Oh,
So, I mean, so it's also for me, like, and he'll get me gifts too, like, he's very thoughtful. So I always try to make sure to repay that, not because I feel like a debt, but because that's friendship for me. So, anyways, yeah, I mean, I will say, the Movie Friends Discord is one of the best spaces I've ever seen for internet, chats. And that definitely, Seth is a friend of mine for a number of years. I have met Michelle once. They're, what you hear from them is who they are. They're very kind people. They're very nice. They're very open to different people, different ideas. So I'm glad you eventually found your way. And it's nice of you to say that I helped you with that.
I mean, if we didn't have the interaction, I might have just dipped out for another 6 and be like, well, we'll come back in like month 7. It's
And
really
that's
fun.
fine.
I don't know why I'm like that, but yeah, like if you meet me, clearly I'm a little different from the Discord server just from the way I talk. But yeah, I just thought that was really cool. And then actually, because of you, I ended up buying them because I remember because they were selling out, and I remember you saying like you should probably get them if they're on sale because they're moving, and they just kind of re-released them. So I got them all, and then I just went down another rabbit hole of Shawshank where people are complaining about the Arrow versus Shout releases. So now I'm buying
Oh my
Arrow releases, and I don't understand about the blue tint, but I'm like, okay, I'll just do it. I'll just do it. I can't.
God.
I
Yeah.
didn't grow up with them, so I don't think it bothers me. But apparently, the Arrow versions are better. I don't know if you heard about this.
No, I can't get worried about that.
You know, it's funny. You said something about talking to your friend for 2 hours. I just reconnected yesterday with a friend, like my best friend from high school. I haven't spoken to him in over a decade. We talked for 4 hours, and
Wow.
it's always exciting to catch up after you haven't spoken to each other in many years, and you're trading war stories about who his life went further down south than you. And I won. Not
Oh
very
wow.
good,
Well, that's not good, but
no, but
that's
it
not a
was
good
fun.
win
I cope with I cope with humor. Like, when you're going through tragedies in life, I
for
think the
sure.
best way to deal with it is to get in front of yourself with the jokes. Because at the end of the day, man, if someone makes fun of you and you've already done it to yourself, I mean, is it really that bad? But no, he felt so bad. But yeah, it's nice to hear that there's people out there still having communication like that. I feel like we're not really communicating at that level anymore, especially the younger generations. Like we need that actual communication, not just like DMing each other, like actual, let me hear your voice, let me see your face, let's go out. We're not on our phones. Like, so it's really nice to hear that. So back to the introduction. Can you tell us a little bit about some of your? Well, you did mention some movies. Do you have any other favorite movies? Maybe some favorite actors, directors, writers? I know it's like 5 questions in one.
No, you're fine. My top four right now is Days Confused, Shawshank Redemption, Fight Club, and American Beauty. I would say, Fight Club, American Beauty, when they came out, they expanded my mind in a lot of ways. It's not just about movies, but the themes with those movies always be incredibly important to me because I felt they were important to my growth process as a person. Um, so they'll probably always I doubt I'll ever change my top four. And then the closest movie that could come to unseating one is the Truman Show. Um, I just think it'll forever be relevant. Um, and then as far as directors go, the Coen brothers, of course, and Wes Anderson, and I'm I've had to become a big Spielberg defender. Everyone thinks he's trash all of a sudden. And I'm like, yo, do you realize the movies he's made and how different they all are and how he's like a master of all the genres? I don't know, but because he's populist, I guess people feel like, oh, it's gotta be trash. Kubrick, of course. As far as actors go, Matt Damon, I feel like his career is pretty incredible. Um, my top actor watch is Samuel L. Jackson. Let me tell you something. You don't gotta try to do that. It'll just happen to you because he's in so many movies. But Samuel L. Jackson's great. My favorite actress is Christina Ricci. Um, look, man, when I was a young kid and Alan's Family came out and Casper came out, let's just say I took a little notice. I think she's my type. But she's a great actress. I saw her on Broadway do A Midsummer Night's Dream. I'm gonna brag now. I got my picture with her. I got her autograph. She's very tiny. That's what I'll tell you. She's very tiny. Um, but I give her a lot of credit. She was about as cool as someone can be as far as meeting some random dude. She had a bodyguard. He stood a few feet. I was with a female friend too, which I think helped. But yeah, Christina Ricci. I don't know. I think she's always interesting in everything she does. So yeah, and you know what? I'm gonna say Joaquin Phoenix. Joaquin Phoenix. He's always gonna be interesting too. You know what I mean? You might not like the movies, but he's interesting. So there's some favorite movies, directors, actors.
If I could visually put in your head the Meryl Streep gif where she's clapping and she's pointing,
Oh,
that's how I felt with Spielberg because I don't know what's going on. There's something in the water, Seanshank, because
don't
we're
know.
going after arguably one of the greatest top
Yeah.
5. I mean, in terms of
Top
influential.
five.
Yeah, I'm a Spielberg fan, so this was like music to my ears. I have had enough of. I'm very quiet on Twitter because I don't really want to get involved unless
Not
I have.
worth it.
I saw that and going, what? Like, do you understand the monumental influence of Jaws and what it did for cinema? Like everything this man has put out. I've yet to watch one movie of Spielberg's that I didn't necessarily dislike. Like there's some I love, there's some I like, but I mean, it's weird to me that Spielberg gets this type of disrespect as if he has not put out similar type of quality that Martin Scorsese has done. Maybe not as prestigious as Scorsese, but they both are on a roll that most directors would wish that they could
Yeah,
have 5 films in a row that good. I mean, he's not my favorite director. I mean, Christopher Nolan is, but which I think, by the way, isn't Nolan the one that they were comparing Spielberg to? If I remember that discourse,
probably.
but that is insane. Joaquin Phoenix, though, I am a Joaquin Phoenix fan. Christina Ricci, a veteran who I think is nice that you gave her flowers. She is a very good actor, and It's cool that you met her, and plus, it seems like the interaction when you want to get the photo and the autograph. Trust me, there's people that I've seen that are far worse that would approach. You know, what I mean, like that. They're a lot more. Well, today's fans are like insane what they'll do to get autographs. Like, you know, I mean, like there's no respect of the boundaries.
Well, Spielberg, I mean, look, I mean, when you consider he did Jaws, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and The Color Purple, and like, and they're all considered like, look how different those movies are, and they're considered great movies. Like, and like I don't know, but again, like, I think certain people have a mindset that if it's popular, it's bad. You know, I don't. I'm not saying that's. Look, I'm generalizing, but like, I think that's part of it is that he's so populist. He wants to make crowd pleasers, and I think some people get their backs up about that. This is my own personal estimation.
I agree. I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, we should be thankful that we still have Steven Spielberg with us making movies. We got Disclosure Day coming soon. Like, I don't know. It's crazy because when you think of Spielberg's movies, like I've never once in my mind thought, yeah, that guy a little overrated. I mean, the quality speaks for. I mean, Jurassic Park. I mean, the way people love that movie still, right? I mean, it is a game changer. Yeah, so it's wonderful to hear Spielberg getting his flowers. I'm sure he doesn't have time to listen to Tomorrow Comes movies, but if he did, this would be his favorite
Yeah,
episode. Now, my next question is, and I think we kind of alluded to it, but you do collect physical media.
yeah. I'm a collector at heart, unfortunately, for my credit cards. Yeah. I mean, and this is like we're in a golden age of physical media because people are understandably fed up with the idea of streaming and how you don't really own anything. So, we're in such a golden age and they're just re-releasing so many movies on, steelbooks and venticulars and whatever that, they're re-releasing everything with a buttload of special features and whatever. And but that's a good thing, in the end, because it's driving people to, collect and appreciate something physical as opposed to just something that's ethereal, not really, there.
With your physical media collection, what do you think you roughly are at? How many do you think you own?
400.
Wow. Do you do bind buys or do you kind of you like to buy what you know you like?
I'll do like a blind, I don't know. I'll do both. I mean, look, I'm gonna answer one of your questions ahead of time, which is um I did buy Upgrade, you know,
Oh, okay.
but it was $20,
Yeah. I mean,
so like for me, like I own it now. Like a perfect I got a perfect movie experience as far as it's 4K. I'm not wrapped up in the 4K thing. It doesn't have to be 4K. If it's available, that's what I'm going to do. But I bought DVDs, I bought Blu-rays, like, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm not like whatever about that. But yeah, now it's part of my collection. Like it's part of my collection. Like, it's part of who I am.
I'm so glad that you're on this episode. You wax poetry about movies that not even I host a podcast, excuse me. I don't even sound this amazing when I talk about movies. I'm serious. I could listen to you talk for
No, no,
multiple hours on movies because it makes people who don't like movies should listen to you talk about them because then they're gonna be like, you know what? I think I am gonna watch a Spielberg movie, and then they're gonna realize I have seen it. It was called Jurassic Park: The Lost World. No, but um,
that's
yeah,
very kind.
I really admire the way you talk about movies. I think you can hear the passion, and we need that because one day you're going to talk to somebody. I'm sure you've done this where you talk about movies with somebody, and you can get somebody to watch something, and you open the door to where their film journey is going to go, right? Because that's what I call it, the film journey for all of us, where we're headed. And yeah, I really admire that. Um,
Yeah, I'm definitely a yapper. So I definitely yap at. I'm an only child, so I guess that's how part of how my only childness comes out is I'm busy yapping at people about the things I'm interested in.
I thought I was an only child until I met my sister after one day in kindergarten. And my dad was like, "Hey, this is Susie." I was like, "Who's Susie?" And then like 2 hours later, he goes, "Oh, by the way, that's your sister." Oh, well,
Oh,
nice to meet you, Susie. Or it wasn't even her real name, which made no sense. Now I'm gonna ask this one last question before I give you these kind of like this fan question. Now you kind of talked about different experiences, but is there one in particular that you haven't mentioned like your favorite memory or experience at the movie theater that you haven't talked about?
sure. So I I'm not gonna call this a favorite, but it's probably the strongest I ever reacted to a movie. Which is I think just as good, if not better, than favorite. It was a Sixth Sense, and I saw the Sixth Sense in the movie theater with my father. Um, and I didn't know. Like, thankfully, it wasn't. It was just in theaters. I had no idea about the twist. I'm not going to ruin the twist, despite the fact that it's the Sixth Sense, and probably everyone who listens to this will know the twist. But people get really butthurt about spoilers. Um, so I will at least say there's a scene before the twist is revealed. There's a scene where he's talking to his mom in the car and explaining what's going on. And for me, that was such a touching scene between him and his mom. And I was already in my feelings. And then the movie sledgehammers you with the twist. And, and I'll just at least say the twist I'm talking about is the one that involves Bruce Willis. So I was so emotionally floored by that when I walked out of the movie theater, me and my father took separate cars. I told him that I need to be alone. Like I couldn't talk. And I could still feel it inside of me. Like there's something about how the emotion, how it broke my brain, and was like, it's not just the twist broke my brain, but just the emotion behind those two scenes. I'll never forget. And that's what a movie can do to you, is to make. And I wasn't like, I wasn't angry. I just needed alone time after what I had just felt and witnessed.
Wow. Amazing. Cause I actually saw it in theaters too, Seanshank. And my reaction as a kid, I was terrified of that movie. I don't remember how I reacted to the twist. I just remember being like, I don't know about this. I couldn't even say his name right. I was like, I don't know about this M, whatever. As a kid, I was scared. I was scared. I don't.
No, no, of course.
Was it terrifying? Do you think? Because I don't remember. I haven't seen it in a long.
No, oh no, but I mean,
Wait. It came out
yeah.
2000s.
No, it was. Hold on. I'm gonna share another one. Um, 1999, the greatest movie year ever. I'll just say as an aside, I think it's important to validate feelings, and that's what I'm doing. Like, yeah, I mean, I think that's a valid feeling to, it's a ghost story. I mean, like, that can be creepy. Like, that can be, a lot, especially that scene in the car where one of the ghosts that he sees passes by the window. I mean, that's a ghost story. Like, maybe people don't think of it as being like a spooky ghost story, but it is. And so I saw the Blair Witch Project before people knew that it wasn't real. And sorry, spoiler alert, it ain't real. Anyways, and my house at the time was very covered around with trees. So I walked inside a little quicker than I normally do. And people might like, oh, the Blair Witch Project. I watched it within the first week or two. People didn't know yet. That's a great, there's another great, see, you can tell I'm very support the theater experience. It can have powerful emotional effects on you.
Yeah, I mean, wow, we were meant to podcast because the parallels of what you're experiencing is like it's beautiful, it's amazing. I'm a wimp. I was terrified of the Blair Witch. I think we tried to watch it. We did watch it, and I remember I was pretty shaken up. Like horror movies were really not my jam as a kid. I know everyone loves them, But
Yeah,
Candyman did so much damage to me that I could not. I dismissed horror, and I was a snob during the 2010s, Seanshank. So I was definitely masking my true scarediness by saying like, "Oh, they're not. Horror movies are not really all that." And then Paranormal Activity came,
it's a very good movie.
and I had to go in with my friends and a future girlfriend, and I had to look tough. So I did the right thing. What any man would do in that situation was not confront it, was to look down right before the jump scares come in so that you're prepared until somebody caught me. And I was like, but yes, that would be as close to me getting to the Blair Witch, was being, a little bit older and then thinking, because people thought that was real too for a while. Not as much as Blair Witch, because the Blair Witch was perfect when it came out. But I remember being terrified of paranormal. I saw Blair Witch. It still kind of freaks me out because I don't know about you. I'm one of those people that would never end up in those situations. So like, I don't know. I'm a guy who thinks about everything before I walk into the door of a Chipotle, Shawshank. Like, where are the exits? Who's in there? Like, I start analyzing because my former job where I had to analyze details of everything. So I'm always looking for an exit. I really do love hearing your experiences because I didn't really like that till I worked at a movie theater for about 8 years, and I really got to, when you're younger, you kind of like in your 20s, you really start experiencing these things, and it has a different profound effect than when you're a kid. So like watching movies like, I'm trying to think here, what is a movie that was really good in the 2010s? Oh, like Inception. That was a big one for me. I've talked about that extensively, how much that influenced me and how it introduced me to my boy Tom Hardy. So I love hearing these stories. Like, I truly love listening to everybody who comes on the show because it's really such a fulfilling experience to hear that others feel the same way about movies or even more. So thank you for sharing everything so far.
Yeah, of course.
And of course, now we're going to move to, what are some of your favorite action movies?
So I mean, when you say that, it's Terminator 2. Um, I probably saw that in the theater. I don't know, man. Terminator 2 kicks ass, and it's more relevant today than it was back then. I mean, it just is. I think it's a brilliant movie. Is brilliantly made. It's got humor. It makes you think. It's prescient. It's people. Look, I'm not an Avatar guy. I I saw the first Avatar in the theater. It was long, but James Cameron can do whatever he wants, man. If he's got the money, that's what he wants to do. Like like I'll defend him too. And again, I don't even care about Avatar, but like let the man rock, man. Like he made so the other one is Aliens. Aliens is for me those are that, and then I would say Blade Runner 2049 are probably what I consider the greatest sequels ever made.
Yes, I remember that press conference that they announced that they were doing that, and I remember being super excited and then being like, "Wait, I don't know if I seen the original." No, I did see it, but I was like, my girlfriend at the time was like, I hadn't seen it. We tried to watch it. That first Blade Runner was really hard for her, but she really dug 2049. Like, she acknowledged Blade Runner is iconic, but she was like, it's a little slow. But 2049, Shawshank, yeah, that, how can that movie have flopped is crazy considering the first Blade Runner, I think, was kind of a flop too. If I remember, it wasn't as understood as it is today.
No, I
But
was ahead of.
yeah, but 2049, they always say that's like the director of Dune's like one of his worst movies. I'm like, in what world?
Some of the images in that movie are iconic. I mean, I don't know why people. I mean, obviously, like him on the stairs, or like the orange, like just the orange sky, which has been basically replicated in real life. You know what I mean? Like, so, yeah. So those are like love Arnold Schwarzenegger. I should add him as to like, I a couple years ago I decided to watch a bunch of his '80s movies that I just hadn't seen yet. Like I hadn't watched Conan the Barbarian. Conan Barbarian is fucking awesome. Like, sorry, are you allowed to curse on your podcast?
Shawshank, you can do whatever you want. At this point, I think it's gonna be your podcast by the end of this episode.
But anyway, so yeah, like Conan the Barbarian's great, Commando's great. Um, yeah, man, Arnold, Bruce Willis, like, of course, Die Hard, or or Fifth Element is one of my top 25 movies, period. Um, so like not sci-fi, not action, 25 movies. Just a banger. So yeah, those are some.
T2 is awesome, though. I forgot to mention that, but I haven't seen The Fifth Element. Shockingly, Mister, I see everything that you say in theaters.
Can't watch
I will
everything.
have to. Maybe we'll have to do an episode where we do that, and then I can watch it and experience. So I understand what you mean when you're like top 25, because everyone says it's amazing. I don't doubt it, but I don't know why that eluded me for so long.
You can't watch everything. Don't. I mean, you can't. You just can't. So don't worry about it.
I mean, you see the now watching the Discord. I mean, it seems like I'm trying to watch everything. It's insane.
Well, it's admirable. Like, I give you a lot of credit for how much you go to the movies and are watching all these like classic movies, and getting that theater experience. I think that's great.
Thank you. I always feel like I need to get a life. I always say this all the time. It's like I gotta stop doing this to myself. Like I was like, I gotta get a life, and somebody's like, "Well, if you like it, who's it bothering?" I'm like,
That
"That's
is a life. Yeah, no, no, don't feel that way. Like, you're living the life you each the way you choose to live it. That's what's important.
yeah." I'm gonna have to have you come back on. I need this type of positive reinforcement. This is what I'm looking for because I'm Mr. Negative. So my next question: which of these directors do you think is best at creating and capturing action? And here's a list: John Woo, Michael Bay, James Cameron, David Leitch, George Miller, and Chad Stahelski.
All right, so obviously I'm gonna say James Cameron, because I've already talked him up. I don't know, man. Like, I'm gonna be upfront. See, I'm gonna disappoint you. I had to Google David Leitch and Chad Stahelski. They did the John Wick movies. Look, the John Wick movies are fantastic. Like, as far as action goes, I mean, but like James Cameron, it's not just about like the fight sequences. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not putting them down. I'm just saying, like, James Cameron's his movies can encompass action plus so much more. So I think he's a more complete director than Michael Bay. Man, I recently rewatched Armageddon. Man, that movie is just loud as shit for 2.5 hours. Like, let's take Terminator 2. There's so many quiet moments, so many personal moments. And I think you need that in an action movie. You need to cut the action with something that you give a shit about during the quiet scenes. Whereas Armageddon is just 2.5 hours of nonsense. I'm not saying I disliked it, you know, or Con Air. I mean, did he do a Con Air? Or is that just Bruckheimer?
Steven West did that one.
Oh,
I know, I might be
well,
wrong.
let's throw Bruckheimer into there though, because he's obviously like that guy, and like they're just loud and dumb. So
But yeah, James Cameron, you did say a lot about James Cameron. I was so mum about it. I love Avatar, so I will. I hope he makes 8 more of them. And I know people don't want it,
yeah,
but you said you're riding with him. So look at you. You're a real fan. It's just like, hey, let him do what he wants. But you're right. One thing about Cameron, he has done some incredible things, especially with Alien. After Ridley Scott does Alien, right? You don't think that somebody's gonna be able to make a good sequel to that, and then Aliens come and it's like arguably one of the greatest sequels of time. Some people think it's better than the original, depending on who you ask. It's
I
okay.
think
Yeah, it's action packed, and the T2. You're right. It is. I mean, that is a game changer too. I mean, every director hopes to have one movie that has some influence and it becomes like an all timer, right? James Cameron is just left and right with movies. I mean, whether you like Avatar or not, I mean, those are going to be in the history books when it's all said and
yeah,
done, you know?
100%. Yeah,
Wow, man. James Cameron might love this episode too. He just got to get through all the Spielberg stuff first. And my last question for the introduction so we can get to this movie review is you can just say yay or nay on any of these movies, whether you consider them classics or not. Are you ready?
let's go.
Hard Boil.
Yeah.
Yay. I'm going to do that too. Bad Boys 2.
I've seen it. I don't remember it. I feel like, I don't know. Maybe I need to rewatch it. So I'm going to say, can I say, I don't know. Bad Boy. I mean, certainly Bad Boys itself. Yes.
Yeah.
Like the idea of Bad Boys.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
I saw it recently, and this is why am I perplexed with this? I guess I'll say yay, but I have a lot of gripes with that movie, but I get it. All right, next one. Mad Max 2, The Road Warrior.
100%.
100% yay for myself. John Wick.
Yeah.
Yay for myself as well. This one we just talked about, so this should be pretty much a quick answer. T2.
Of course.
Yay. Bullet Train.
I haven't seen it.
I haven't seen it either. I don't know.
I'm a crazy person, so I own the Steelbook, of course. One of these days, yeah. I mean, despite his questionable personal life, Brad Pitt's great. I'll watch a Brad Pitt movie. I mean, he's in some of my favorite. He's in a lot of my favorite movies. So, yeah, I mean, one of these days I'll watch Bullet Train. It's supposed to be good.
I put a movie that neither one of us saw, but it's just because David Leitch did that, so I had to kind of put one in there with him. And the last one, Police Story.
100%. It's incredible.
Okay, perfect. And this completes the introduction. And I gotta say, Seanshank, I already had absolute cinema respect for you, but I think I've gained more in this experience.
Oh, you're being too nice.
But we're entering our movie review, and this is part of the monthly theme for May called
Tomorrow Comes Movie Podcast presents Woo. Now that's what I call action.
So I imagine that's supposed to be a Busta Rhymes thing.
Which one? Oh, what I wrote?
Yeah.
It's actually just basically, I just took John Woo's last name. And but Busta Rhymes, I'm a hip hop guy, so I do appreciate that because I do love old school Busta Rhymes. But yeah, this theme is covering a variety of action flicks with crazy stunts, big explosions, fist fights with a little usage of martial arts, gunfights, exciting car chases, and one hell of a good time. Now, I gave you a list of movies, and you chose Upgrade. So let me give them the movie facts, and then we'll start real quickly. And this is the movie facts for Upgrade. It came out on June 1st, 2018. It's written and directed by Lee Wanell. He did The Invisible Man and the latest Wolfman. It stars Logan Marshall Green and Betty Gabriel. And the synopsis of Upgrade is a man named Gray, who isn't big into the use of tech, despite living in a near future world dependent on technology, has his life completely upended and now must use an experimental computer implant to enact his revenge on those responsible. If you haven't seen Upgrade, you got to press pause here, go press play on Upgrade, come back, or don't. Back to you, Seanshank. Are you ready?
Let's go.
Let's talk movies. So out of the list I gave you, why did you choose Upgrade?
I've wanted to watch it. It sounded interesting to me. I didn't really know what it was about. So I have two minds about spoilers. I go in as cold as possible. I don't watch trailers. I don't read. I barely read descriptions. I'm just on vibes, man. Just vibes. And that's how I decided to watch a movie. Reputation, of course. This is a movie I gotta watch. But if something gets spoiled for me, I don't get bent out of shape because who cares? It's not that, for me personally, it's not that big of a deal. It's fine. Like, there's more important things in life to get bent out of shape about. So I barely know what this thing was about. Just sounded like a sci-fi movie. It's about upgrading. I understood it was about upgrading like a guy, so when I looked at your list, I was like, hey, I wanted to see that. I had a couple other movies that I was interested in, but I had already seen them. And I was like, you know what? I want to watch like a newer movie, and I want to watch a movie that I haven't seen yet, because that fits more of the idea of reviewing a movie for me. I mean, my other choices I was thinking was Die Hard or Long Kiss Goodnight. And I mean, it just didn't fit what I felt you were going for your podcast. If I've already seen these movies, I'd rather watch a brand new movie, something new, something modern, something that might be, important to today's times. And I definitely feel like Upgrade is.
Yes. Though I'm not gonna lie, I was gonna send you a message. As I'm watching Upgrade, I go, is this an action movie? Because I looked at lists. The only reason why I ended up on my list was I Googled action movies, and this popped up like once or twice. And I kind of read the synopsis, right? And I go, okay, this sounds like an action movie. And it does have action elements, but it's a lot more than what I thought it was going to be. So the first question off the bat after we asked you that one, so technically this would be the second one, right? Is what were your first impressions after Upgrade ended for you?
Um, that was really good. And that I was glad I picked it because I felt like it's relevant to today's times. And I think it did a good service as to addressing issues of technology. And yeah, I mean, mostly I think I was also thinking about how I felt about the ending, and I really liked the ending. I think that's the other thing is that like, I could see people maybe not liking the ending, but for me, I think it really works. Um, and I like how it's to a degree, it's an open-ended ending. So I think that was my impressions.
I found Upgrade to be a lot better than I thought because in 2018 I saw that trailer, Seanshank, and I watch it and I go, and I was a snob still. I look at it and I go, well, Tom Hardy passed on this because this guy looks like Tom Hardy. I have this thing with all these guys that look like Tom Hardy, so I wasn't interested. Right? Reviews come out and it kicked ass. It didn't. I think it did okay, but I mean the reviews were making this sound like a game changer. So then I said, one day I'll watch it. Right? And then you picked it, and this is perfect. Yeah, it is very. It I saw somewhere label it a action horror, and that maybe there was a little bit of some horror vibes in the fact that maybe this is getting too close to reality for us because it seems like a straight up revenge movie. Like you said, the guy gets upgrades, but it's so layered with more things in there that you're just kind of going like, wait, what? And it's kind of scary. The ending was something that I could not have even conceived when I had watched it. When I was getting toward it, I was like, what is this going? But yeah, it's incredibly bleak. The world is fascinating to me. And the story to me really, I think we can all relate to that story, right? Where something like the thought of somebody taking your loved one from you, because in this movie, Upgrade, his wife dies. I mean, you're going to want to go on revenge, but the thing about this movie that I think really helps, and one of the biggest impressions I had of this movie was how Gray is as a character, despite all of what he went through. There, we could easily just give into the dark side of ourselves, but he has a very good moral compass to a degree.
Well, I mean, I'm sure the name choice was on purpose, because he has to, I mean, slowly, the movie's about losing your humanity. You're losing your humanity, and to the very end, he's fighting to remain human, and he doesn't want to kill people. Um, he can justify some of the killings. Probably you can see him justifying them because they were quote unquote bad people that helped murder his wife. But, we have the classic, I just killed someone, I'm going to throw up in the sink scene. Um, you know, um, certainly I think there is, you mentioned John Wick already. It follows the dead wife trope, of course. I'm not complaining, to be clear, I'm not complaining about this whatsoever. I think it does it really well. Especially the ending where she comes back and how she doesn't really come back.
Yeah.
But, I mean, when he gets pushed into, fantasy land for the rest of his walking life, so it does do something interesting with the dead wife trope, which is, bring her back sort of permanently.
Yeah, I mean, that is one of those endings that I didn't even come back on the Twitter for like 24 hours until somebody was like, "Did that ending rattle you?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I just came back after like, I bet it was nothing what I expected." Like, so with Upgrade, were there any particular parts of the movies that you considered like highlights for yourself?
Um, you were sort of like, is this an action movie? I 100% think it's an action movie. I definitely believe that movies can be multiple things, and some of the best movies are multiple genres. And for me, it actually is that final fight scene between him and I'm super bad with character names. Um, the final guy.
Fisk. Are you talking about the one that
Fist.
killed his wife?
Yeah, Fist, the guy with the mustache guy.
Yes. Yes.
So I thought that was a great fight. I thought it actually not rivaled, but like reached up to the level that, towards John Wick. John Wick for me, as far as fight sequences, is some of the greatest fight sequences ever put on film. But yeah, I mean, certainly I started to get Matrix vibes, naturally. Um, and to be compared to a John Wick or Matrix, you're doing something right at that point. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I really like that final fight. I like the dialogue. I did like the join us, come to the dark, there's many dark sides in this movie. And I want you to stand with us, is I think the word he used, so the dark side thing. I thought that was a really effective sequence, at both a fight sequence and also getting to the crux of the themes of the movie, which is, you know, losing your humanity to technology.
Yeah, that was a big highlight. Yeah, this how technology versus humans. We're seeing superior races, with people with modifications. That was another, like you had alluded to. There's some interesting things about wanting to join their faction. The thing that really that I found the most compelling in this movie is how they tell this story, because I had only half of it correct. I had called out something that I was convinced was going to be the ending, but how it ends, and they kept it very pretty much close to the chest. And the fact is, if you rewatch the movie and once you realize it, but if you really pay attention, you can clearly see the signs. But when you're first time experiencing it, you get so wrapped up in the story because you're basically side by side with Gray, right? You're just trying to figure out what happened to his wife. And like the fights were good because I love the visuals, because it felt kind of robotic, like when STEM takes over. You're all right. Matrix vibes did come up. It's a different type of revenge movie, and I think that's what makes Upgrade probably why people, like everybody in my comments on Twitter, were saying this is like amazing movie, and I'm just like, okay, and I'm like hoping it is, and I understand why this movie is revered. Maybe not, maybe I didn't love it as much, and when I tell you why, it would make you laugh. It's so ridiculous. I'm watching this movie and I go, Tom Hardy would never allow any of this to happen, as if Tom Hardy would influence this story to be any better. But no, it's a really good story. So yeah, the fight with Fisk, because that was actually probably the one where we finally get to see what man versus machine can really do. Was machine's kicking ass, Fisk has got him on the ropes, and Stem's like, I have no options for you, and Gray has to do what humans have to do in situations: fight or flight, right? And he finds the best way to get someone aggravated is to emotionally upset them,
Yeah, yeah.
and it
I
costs
don't,
Fisk everything.
yeah, I guess I didn't really. That's a really good point that I didn't think about. Like that, um, it's the human side that won that fight for him. That's really interesting.
Let me tell you, I get one good idea or one good point
No,
out.
no, no.
So let me tell you the other point I have was in the beginning of the movie, he licks his finger when he cuts it. And I was just like, ew, don't do that. Like, go get it fixed. Like, these are things that I'm worried about, have nothing to do with the movie. But yeah, the human element. But that was one of the biggest highlights. The fights were cool visually. I like visually, like when he's like kind of losing stem and the camera kind of replicates.
Yeah,
Yeah, that is brilliant work, because you and I who love movies understand this more than maybe some other people who love movies, but they're not as they haven't got there in their film journey, is when you realize how visually can start telling parts of the story. Like people don't realize certain shots are used to help convey emotion or tell you things. And when he was like that robotic effect, it was really cool. And I was just like, actually, when I finished the movie, I said the young Patrick was a moron for not going to watch this in theaters, because this totally would have been his jam. Because I love revenge type of movies, because I don't know about you, I believe that if you cross a certain line, you deserve what you get in the movies, not in real life. You deserve what you get, because the minute that you lose your sense of humanity, you do something so horrific to another human, you cannot cry about it later when things are not going your way. And I love in this movie, Gray is doing his revenge thing, but unlike most of us, he doesn't lose his true humanity. You know, he still thinks about something he does, like, oh, I don't know if I want to do that. I want to do this. Where, like you mentioned, John Wick, I mean, he is an assassin, so I guess maybe it made sense, but he was just like, you killed my dog. Everybody is going downhill, you know what I mean? And Upgrade is so unique, and that's why I think it's hailed as one of those like gems that like some people know about, but most didn't. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, I mean, as far as definitely, of course, the camera move, the way the camera moved, and like also the sounds. There's a lot of sounds happening, like distortions, like, and all that is gonna key you into that the robot, the AI is failing, or taking over in other cases. Like the way he, during the final confrontation with, what's his name, Aaron, um, when he finally walks down, he walks very robotically. Like he makes a very sharp corner. Like all those little details are there to key you in on who's maybe more in control or who's losing control. So yeah, it does a really good job with that. As far as the revenge aspect of it, um, you know, I'm gonna say something actually kind of, you reminded me of something, which is Aaron at some point, like, uh, Gray finds out that Aaron is tracking him, through STEM. And Aaron says to him, "This is my property. Like, this is my experiment." And I was like, "Yeah, he's right. This wasn't like a philanthropic. I can't say the word. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't philanthropy. He didn't give this guy a gift with no strings attached. You are a living experiment right now for this company and for this AI genius. You're almost dumb for not realizing that like he's not gonna just give you this stem, this baby, and just be like, cool, bro. I hope you enjoy walking again."
Yeah, I mean, it's so funny though, because when he says that, right, Aaron's like, "Hey man, I didn't give you this to do this." Yeah, part of me is like, Aaron, did you not think that there was a possibility that he was probably going to go do this? I mean, and we know, with the twist and all that, we knew it was, now we understand what's going on here. But yeah, that's
Right.
what he's doing. Yeah, it's not his property. You had to choose between being quadriplegic for the rest of your life, or you get this opportunity to be part of this experimental thing. And actually, that's one of my questions. Do you think you're in Gray's situation? Would you take the STEM implant, or you think I'll just have to deal with what life has given me now?
So I would say possibly, only because I am so sick of passwords. I am so sick of usernames. At work, man, it seems like all the time they're making me change my damn passwords at work, and I have bunches at work. And like, it's so annoying, and like, I hate it. And man, if they could implant a chip in my wrist, and if I just can wave that chip in front of sensors that unlocks everything in my life, do it, man. Just do it. Put the chip in me. And I've said, like, you know what? I'm boring as shit. Like, I'm not worried about people tracking me or finding out what I'm doing. I'm doing nothing, man. If you want to track me, that's on you. So I'm being serious. I am dead tired of passwords and usernames and captchas and two-factor authentications, and it's just horrible. And so I think because my brain is already there, probably if I was faced with being a paraplegic or, hey man, here's this insect looking chip that we can put in your neck and you can be superhuman, I could get my brain around that.
So I probably would take it, but Aaron and Stem would be very extremely frustrated with me because it'd be like an hour session in that visit. Be like, all right, let's walk through everything before I sign it. I'm one of those people. My dad always said, read everything before you sign it, ask all the questions. So I would be like going through all the scenarios, but Stem would be really frustrated with me because I'm not going to be manipulated like Gray. The minute that I start feeling like something's not right, I'm just like, I'm not doing it. So I'm not doing it. Like, I'll let Aaron shut me down if I have to. But I would have taken the implant because, I mean, the thought of not being able to walk or do anything, that is a scary situation. So, yeah, I think I would have taken it. And I would hope my outcome would be a lot different, but I have no idea. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, I mean, the thing for me, like I've said, like I'm petrified of becoming blind. So like if they were like, yo, like here's this chip, now you can see again, I'd be like, sure, let's do it. Or some of the people in this movie, the people have like enhanced eyeballs, you know, like let's do it.
Yeah, I mean, well, speaking of that, that's actually one of my questions is Fisk and some of the goons that take out Asha, they have upgrades. They're humans with technological upgrades. Do you think you would want those type of upgrades, including the option of getting the gun in your hand?
No, I don't want the gun in my hand. So I don't need a gun in my hand. You still got to manually load bullets into it anyway. So no, I don't want a gun in my hand. But yeah, like, you know, like upgraded eyesight. Um, upgraded eyesight. I really do. I don't need to be strong. I don't need to have a gun, but being able to see shit better, that sounds great.
You know, I didn't think about possibility of going blind. But yeah, actually, you know what, Seanshank, I don't blame you for the blind thing because I've temporarily had some issues. Yeah, enhanced eyesight would be pretty good. I would love to have the ability to have, and possibly working like zoom in and things and see things. Yeah, that would be great. I mean, I would probably say with those type of upgrades, I would be like, hey, let's just wait, Seanshank. Let's let the first 2,000 people do it first and see if there's any issues, and then we'll go in and be 2001 and 2002 in that line. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, so that reminds me of something that I don't know. Do you think Aaron is supposed to sound like Elon? Do you think do you think that name is purposeful?
I mean, it's possible. We're in 2018. Do you think was there issues with Elon at that time? I don't.
No, not like today.
No,
But like,
it's possible.
you know,
Very good. Look at you. You're seeing things that we're not. That's what we call the film vision, people. Yeah, that could be, a correlation because a lot of filmmakers will do that kind of, writing where they'll kind of throw in something and like maybe one out of like 1,000 people gets it. But yeah, that is actually a good point out. But I don't know. Do you think there's some correlation?
possibly. Sure. I mean part of the reason why the reason why I brought it up is because like we're both on Twitter, right? We both experienced the transfer of power and how all of a sudden Twitter acted like garbage once he took over. I mean, it did. This is not. I'm gonna tell you right now, y'all. It was night and day. Like all of a sudden, he takes over, and Twitter's trash. Like it just wasn't working right. All of a sudden, there was bots. Like the spaces started. Like it was just trash. And I was like, yo, man, if this guy wants to, build a spaceship and fly people to Mars, I ain't getting on that spaceship because that dude made it. Because if he can't make a website run well, I don't trust him to make anything else well. So, as far, and the reason why I'm bringing that up other than like my Aaron Elon thing is to answer your question, which is or your statement, which is let the first people fly to Mars. Let the first 100 million people do the Mars flight. See how that goes, especially if it's Elon making it. And then maybe I'll get on that spaceship too.
I mean, if you had to choose between Aaron or Elon's spaceship, which one you have to go? You have to be one of the first to go on either one of their ships. You have to choose. Are you going with Aaron or Elon?
I don't know, man. Aaron, I guess Aaron only because, like, I mean, thinking about him as a character, like, one, like, of course, like, he's, like, super, like, socially awkward and, like, shuts himself off from humanity, which, again, that's a part of the theme of the whole movie is, like, you got this dude who, like, has lost his humanity, in my opinion. Like, he doesn't talk to people. It's not, it says that, he hides in his lair, making fake clouds when there's real clouds right up there. There's real clouds, like recreating rainstorms in his lair. Dude, there's probably a rainstorm up there. You can experience the real thing. What are you doing? But he's so detached from humanity and reality. But maybe there's more of a. This is gonna sound strange, but I also thought maybe it's because he looks so young and he gets called a kid a lot. But there seems to be a naivete to him too, if that makes any sense. Like clearly he didn't. I don't know. Do you think he didn't really realize that STEM had a? He claims he didn't realize STEM had a voice, right? Like that STEM could talk to you. So like it's almost like he didn't even realize the capabilities of his own creation. I don't know. That's a good question. They both suck. I guess Aaron because at least he likes fake nature, whereas I don't think Elon gives a shit about nature. That's my answer.
I'm as soon as you say that, I said I'm going with Seanshank. I'm not going on Elon. I'm not gonna take the bet of being like, let me go on Elon and see which one of us makes it. No, I would go with Aaron because of what we know, who really was running things. That I feel more confident in the success rate. Now, here's something I wanted to ask you because I'm curious to know if there was anything. Was there any part of Upgrade that you didn't like?
I mean, no. I mean, I think it does lay on. The only thing I can say is it definitely lays on very thick the old technology versus new technology thing. Like, it lays on really thick as far as, especially with like the cars. Like, we're constantly reminded, oh, this is not a, this is, and that actually, I feel like, John Wick's car is like whatever muscle car. This dude's all about the muscle cars too. And even the cop, the detective drives like a muscle car, but has some obvious computer capabilities. It's brought up a lot, but it didn't reach the point where it annoyed me. And I do think probably it's better to hit people over the head with it sometimes. I would say that's the only thing is that like, um, but I mean, it's not a 5-star movie, I guess I would say. Like even like when he picks like another example is when he goes into the first dude's house, the first dude that he cuts his head in half basically. It makes a point of like, oh, this is a manual lock and I gotta get my old school lockpick. There's a lot of that, like, yeah, all right, I get it. I get it that like there's old, or even like the bar is called Old Bones. You know what I'm saying? Like it lays it on thick as far as, but I think in the end, like it's better to lay it on a little thick than to make it too
In
subtle.
a sense. But yeah, it did make me laugh with the lockpick when Stem's like, I can't do that. And it just sets it up perfectly that Gray is like, this is the one thing I could do. Absolutely. But I mean, they have to do that, I guess. But yeah, I didn't really have anything I didn't like about it. I guess in my mind, I think it's wowed more people, a lot of my mutuals, more than it wowed me. Like, I think it's a really good movie. But I don't know if I was like fully like blown away as much as everybody else has made it seem like from what I've spoken to. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. I didn't think there was nothing really like, the acting's good. The only thing that did make me laugh, and this is nothing to the question, but I think in another life, Gray and Detective Cortez were meant to be with each other, like in an alternate universe, because they could have the best non-technological dates because they literally love the old days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I do think even story-wise, I think, when you're writing a story, I think that made a lot of sense. I think that was a great detail to make them sort of equals on that level. Because he's already battling the technological villains. So, this is another person who's not a villain, but he's fighting against, but she's more like on his level. So I think that was smart to have like a variance as far as the characters in the story.
I agree. Yeah, it's actually really good because when STEM can't do certain things, Gray has to improvise. So it shows that this technology versus human, but in reality, if we can work them together, it can be beneficial, but when it's one versus the other, it can get kind of sticky. I mean? Like, it's funny that we talked about T2 earlier because I'm convinced that we're headed toward one of these scenarios with the technology because it's getting out of control. Like, I'm sure you've noticed this too. Like in this movie, STEM is able to do certain things, right? And Gray is able to do certain things that STEM can't do. And it's a good kind of like symbiotic relationship, right? I'm concerned, Seanshank, with people on Twitter where they'll see something like a viral post and they have to ask Gronk if it's true or not. And I think to myself, have we evolved into an era now where we don't do our own research or check our sources to make sure? Is that crazy? And then like the best part is when they don't pay for the premium features, it's Gronk is like, you need to upgrade to know whether or not this is true. Like, I thought that was so fascinating in the movie because I'm thinking about what's happening in 2026. And this is like in the near future. Yeah, what do you think about that whole, like, I know that has nothing to do with the movie, but I don't know if you thought of that. Like, what's up with people who can't do their own research?
Thinking's hard. That's it, man. I mean, I don't know, man. Math is hard. Alphabet's hard. The reason why, so I should explain. So I'm a pharmacy technician. I work in a pharmacy. We do have robots, by the way. So, we hang the bags up, the bags of people's medications in last name alphabetical order. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Man, I mean, just the other day, like I found someone's bag in the D's and neither their first name nor their last name started with a D. I'm like, these, like the pharmacists have doctorates. You know what I'm saying? How did we fail at the alphabet? You know what I'm saying? Like, so that's why I said that. Like, we're going to get an automated bag organizer, by the way. Where that's already out there. So pretty soon it's not going to be us hanging up the bags. It's going to be, we're going to hand it to the robot to hand the bags up. So hopefully the robot knows the alphabet. But, so to answer something that I've started saying recently in life, something that I've realized about science fiction is that science fiction, in my opinion, is aspirational. Yes, we can look at like Terminator 2 or Upgrade or any of these movies and be like, oh, they're warning us. And they are. There's also people that are watching these movies, getting some ideas and thinking, So I do think science fiction is aspirational. We are moving towards Upgrade. We are moving towards Terminator 2. Because if someone thought it, someone's going to try and make it reality. And you can't stop technology. You can't. It's here. Do I use AI? The only thing I use for AI, I've realized, is I use Google Lens to identify what is this bug in my house right now. Like, You can use Google Lens and it'll tell you the bug, man. Like that's it. Like I don't use Gronk or sorry, Grok, whatever, however you pronounce the stupid ass shit. Sorry, you can tell that how I feel about AI.
No, I'm with you. I do not. I'm not really a big fan of AI. The only time I ever loved AI was in Left 4 Dead, the video game, the zombie video game, because they had a game AI that would like basically determine how well you were playing. They would send like goons at you. Like all video games do that, right? They have an AI engine.
Yeah.
That's fine. I don't
Oh, yeah.
need AI to do everything for me. I don't know why people are so dependent on it. I get it. I won't debate that it's not a cool technology, but let me tell you, when I saw the AI video of the people who can do the video where they meet stars and they take photos. I don't know if you ever saw this. This was on Twitter like for a long time. And I saw Tupac and Elvis in Cuba. I was done. I was like, guys, there's other things to do in this world that we don't need to like it. It's cool, but it's never going to be something that I'm going to be like, yeah, let me watch that. Like, in the movies, they were like, people are like, AI is going to make movies better than the Hollywood. I'm like, absolutely not.
You can't take the human element out of creation. And thankfully the Oscars made that move to change the rules. But yeah, man, like Starbucks is like, hey, Starbucks, I use Chat GPT to place your order. What? Like, why can't? And to be clear, like Starbucks is just taking the new shiny thing and being like, we need that shit right now. If no one cared about Chat GPT, it get dumped like that. You know what I'm saying? So it's, but it's like, yo, man, why do you need to talk to an AI to place a Frappuccino order? Like, that doesn't make any sense.
Actually, this kind of works for Upgrade. Everything we talked about with Upgrade, because there's a part in the movie where Asha tells Gray when she comes home, she's like, you want me to, yeah, you want me to have them make a pizza, the machine? And he's like, why can't we make our own pizza? Now, I don't think I've ever made a pizza. I've been with somebody who's made their own pizza. It's a little bit of hard work, but let me tell you, if I had to choose between making my own pizza and messing it up, or having some machine create it, I'd rather mess it up. What about you?
Well, of course. And I mean, that's the thing is that like the machine is just going to like literally the word she uses is print, like print a pizza. Like you might quote unquote mess up a pizza, but create something that you really like and something, like a new recipe or, a new way of making pizza, that you really enjoy because you didn't do it quote unquote right. Whereas that robot, that AI is going to make it the same every single time. So it's just going to take any sort of like nuance out of life.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know. It doesn't even sound desirable. Like, hey, you know what? I'm in the mood for Chicago deep dish. Let's print some out. Like, in what world does that sound delicious? Let's get some printed crazy bread from Little Caesars. Like, we'll download the print. That just sounds. That's the problem with this movie too. That I love how they kind of tackle the technology. And I get Gray. Don't get me wrong. I understood Gray's whole. He's not big on technology. I think we all use technology. No one's going to dispute that. But I think having some sort of ability to just do your own with your own, sometimes you can, like, a human using technology is better than a human relying too much on technology to determine everything for them. And I love this part about the movie, right? Because that was a big thing. But yeah, I'm gonna be honest with you, Seanshank. I don't even know what Chat GPT is. I know everyone talks about it. I have no interest because I don't need it. You know what I mean? What I need is this human contact right now. Like, this is the good part about technology right now, is I'm able to do this podcast with you. That's cool. That's awesome.
Yeah, it brings people together.
It would be very strange if you were like, I'm not able to do this podcast, and I say, would you mind if I use your likeness and print up a new Seanshank to do the podcast? Like, it would be so bizarre, But there's somebody that probably would be totally down for that. That's what's kind of crazy. And so Upgrade, to me, I think it's more relevant than it probably was in 2018. I think it's
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. I mean, as far as self-driving cars, obviously we're headed towards that. I mean, we already have that. Like, in my city, I live in the Phoenix area. We have Waymos, so Waymos are, I have a door in my town. I have a DoorDash robot. I don't know if you ever seen a DoorDash robot.
No.
Were you aware that they exist?
No. What?
Oh man, so it's cute. They make it cute. It looks like it's got a face. It looks like what like a, it looks like the kind of like one of the type of cars that little babies will ride in, where it's like plastic with like a domed like top, and it's got little eyes, and so it's got a flag so you can see, cars can see it hopefully, and it uses the bike lanes typically or like on the side, and it delivers stuff to people, and like it's a robot all by its lonesome, all by its lonesome. It is driving down my streets, and one night there was one. I live in like a townhouse community, so we have private roads, and like I came home from work and there was one down the way, and I took video of it because, man, this little robot, I've got speed bumps. It slowed down for the speed bump. It knows, man. It signaled its turn. It signaled its turn. Like,
Humans to do that at all? Wow.
yeah, at least it does that. Like, so I mean, like, we are here, man. We are like, as far as like upgrade goes, as far as like the drones, like Little Caesars just announced they are testing drone deliveries. You trying to tell me that the police aren't going to start figuring out, like in upgrade, having drones doing surveillance?
Yeah.
We're this close. We're this close to that. It's happening. It's, like I said, science fiction is aspirational.
You're learning. Shawshank's going to be in high demand to come back on because you're getting real life lessons on top of a movie review. Because I didn't know any of this. I just like crazy bread. I don't need crazy drones in the air. Like that is wild.
You know what a Waymo is?
No.
A Waymo is a driverless taxi. So Waymo will pick you up. It's like Uber or the other one which is escaping right now.
Lyft. Yeah.
Except it's driverless.
No, I can't do that. I can't.
That's what I've seen it in I live by Chandler. I think that's at least here I was seeing in Chandler a lot, but it's expanded out. So like it's basically a Lyft or an Uber, but it's driverless. So you just hop on in and it drives itself where you gotta go.
Would you take one?
No.
No. Okay, that's how we know that you and I are the same people.
Well, because one, I've taken Ubers. I've always had fantastic experiences with Ubers, and it's the human element. Like this is someone's job. Like I'd rather pay a person to do a thing for me, than a robot. Then I'm just giving money to some faceless corporation. And that to me doesn't feel good, I mean, I think people who do give money to faceless corporations like this are losing their humanity. They're losing humanity. And we've already had a loss of empathy, in my opinion. And I think again that's what this that's the crux of this movie is technology can be beneficial. It can help a paraplegic walk again. But uncontrolled and unfettered, which STEM becomes, it basically becomes HAL 9000. We'll reference another, that's an obvious, I believe, influence on STEM is HAL 9000. Like eventually he loses his humanity to it because it can do everything better than him.
Yes, and how the film progresses with that, with STEM looking like it is really at its assistance always for Gray helps him build this trust as we get further and further down the story. Now, with the action, was there a particular, I know you mentioned the fist fight, was there any other action sequence that really stood out to you?
What I'm gonna say, I do think the car chase was really well done. I think the idea of STEM, like almost learning on its own, where STEM is like, oh, I can just take over other cars. Like it's almost like it's you. That scene, I think the car chase is filmed really well. I think it's really, you can follow it really well. It's not chaotic to the point where you're not sure what the hell is happening. But and also it does show that him and I'm bad with names, the cop, are evenly matched. Showing that they both have these classic muscle cars. But also I'm realizing STEM is learning. It's still learning. It's like, hey, I can just take over other cars and cause you to be able to escape the cop. So yeah, I think that scene's gonna stick with me too.
The car chase was one of mine as well. Yeah, that's really good because it really STEM ends up having to do some improvisation. That's something that humans deal with, right? And that is interesting how it kind of figures out what it can and cannot do, especially when STEM had dropped the ball because Cortez uses a old school listening device that could not really control, you know? And I love that. You need some type of human small wins in the story because technology is going to be able to take on most of it, but we have to have something that can help move the story. Now let's talk about real quickly here. Did you like Gray or any other characters in this movie?
Yeah, I like Greg. I mean, I think he's a complicated. I definitely think again, like the beginning of the movie really lays on thick right from the beginning, like, with his wife. Oh, I'm old school guy. Why can't we just make a pizza? You know, um, oh, like when they're in the car together, like, when they're driving home and he's all like, well, first he's like, I'll probably press the wrong button, so you need to come with me. Like it lays it on thick. Um, you know, he's just a regular old guy drinking his Budweiser. It Budweiser is prominent in the which is fine. But but he's I do think he's portrayed as being more complicated than that because he does at least see the benefits of the technology initially. And he does give in to STEM, and obviously we find out that he's emotionally manipulated by what would your wife want to do? They want you to do. And I do think his initial I do think the scene when he first arrives back home after he's a paraplegic and the nurse is showing him like how to make a smoothie and he's just like, one, the dude's going through grief. Two, he's finding himself now having to rely on the home that he was resisting with his wife. And I'm sure that was rough for him to get his brain around. And if anything, I think it's only when Arno, because he attempts suicide, he realizes he can use the house. I think it's called Kara. The house is called Kara. And again, as a pharmacy technician, I knew what he was doing. I knew right away. He's trying to overdose. But it's only when Arno visits him in the hospital after he attempts suicide and all that I think he embraces the whole lot of it, meaning like the house, the technology. And again, I think the other smart thing as I'm talking to you is that his wife is the one that embraced the technology. So, he's asked what would his wife want. One, his wife want him to live. And two, his wife would want him to embrace technology.
Yes. Yeah, that was devastating for him having to be now relying on technology when he's so resistant.
Yeah.
And then you lost your wife. I mean, talk about a double whammy. Yeah, that is really tough. I like Gray, but let me tell you, when you are in business and you deliver a car to, I guess it turns out to be the biggest CEO of, I think it was Vessel, the company was called.
Yeah, Vessel.
The wife's geeking out and they're talking about technology and he's kind of being smug toward the wife's company. and then Gray decides to show his true colors on technology. I'm just like, yo, Gray, let's not do any of that. Let's just let it be, because you know this, as we're gentlemen, guys do strange things when they feel that another guy is threatening them, like man-wise. I don't know why guys do this, but they feel the need to act like a fool. I've never been like that, but I know most guys, like they when they feel challenged, they start getting worked up. I'm like, yo, settle down. Like it's really not that serious. Like, I can't do certain things. I'm not a mechanic. I'm a little bit more computer savvy. I wish I was the typical man that could just fix cars. I can't. But guess what? If some guy wants to challenge that, I'm like, I already laid it on the cards on the table. Like, you want to keep making fun of me for it? Just know that I've already hacked your computer and I'm uploading it to your work. I'm just kidding. You know, that was something that made me not like Gray initially. But when he went through the things with himself, I did like Gray and I did like Cortez, because they retained some of this humanity that so many were willing to give up for the convenience, the easy way of living. So I did like those two. But yeah, I love Gray's moral compass too. He even though he wanted revenge and he really wanted justice. It seems like revenge, but it's more like he wanted justice, but he got put in situations where he had to enact, I guess, the justice through brutal kills. So yeah, I didn't really like Aaron. I will say this, did not like Aaron from the jump. I knew something was off about that gentleman.
Yeah. So the line he says to, I wrote it down. He says to Aaron, "You look at that widget," meaning STEM. When it looks like a little bug. You look at that widget and you see the future. I look at that thing, I see 10 guys on an employment line. That's him like pushing back on Aaron and his fancy technology. And his wife is like, yo, you need to calm down. But he does make a point, of course, because that's the fear with AI, is that's going to eliminate jobs, but, yeah. And, I did want to point out the other thing that I liked about the movie is how visceral the gore is. So, and I actually don't think that makes it qualify as horror at all. And I'm going to explain why, obviously. So, the first fight when with STEM technically, takes a butcher knife and literally does Ichiro the Killer, except far worse. Oh, sorry, Itchy the Killer. And have you ever seen Itchy the Killer?
Heard of it. It's on the watch list, but it's all good.
Fantastic movie. Itchy the Killer. You should watch it. So that's a horror movie. That is over the top. Just prepare yourself. But so what I thought when I saw that is we're talking so much about this clinical, sterile technology, and it's showing the opposite, total gore. And then when he gets STEM implanted into him, they don't just show often movies when someone's getting surgery, they show the first cut and the little dribble of blood coming out. They show the viscera of his back. And I didn't think that was over the top or unnecessary. I think it was done purposefully to show human blood and guts. I mean, the same thing when he cuts up the gentleman in the bathroom. Yeah, all the blood and so that's actually one of the things that I really liked about the movie. And I didn't feel it's rare that I feel like gore is purposeful. I felt like I'm not approved. Trust me, if you watch this, see the color, or if you know that I'm down with the gore, it's fine. But in this case, I think it had a lot to do with thematically with the story. As far as showing the basic human, and then they show the gore as far as whatever was inside the villains, as far as the wires and shit. I thought all that was actually really fantastic and looked really good.
Yeah. Actually, the whole thing with Tolan was a really good compare and contrast of human versus machine, right? Tolan, Gray tells Tolan he killed Cirque, And so Tolan naturally is challenged by this news. Is like, well, let's see if you're really quadriplegic. And starts stabbing him, and this is where Stem and the human elephant work tandem. He's like, I'll turn off your pain receptors, and he's stabbing him. And he's kind of doing so. It's messed up, right? But it's not too extreme yet. And then when Gray finds his moment, it's like Stem is unlocked. We see what Stem does, and because it is a machine, it does things a little bit more extreme. It's not like it has any idea. I think it has some. I think it's slowly evolving to know what it's doing, but it's just brutal. Like when he tears up Tolan's face. I mean, it didn't bother me. I didn't think it was too gory. It just was like some of these kills. I was like, if a human did it, you definitely can feel the passion. But in a machine, you're just like the machine's like, I completed my objective for you. But yeah, it was an interesting thing, and I really love that whole aspect between Stem and Gray before we find out things. Like they work really well together, and it's really good at how they mask what's really going on in the movie. And you really have to kind of like Iron Man, you have to like kind of move the screen in your mind, visually, and you're trying to decipher what's actually happening. So now let's go to the upgrade ending, because I've been wanting to talk about the ending and then the big twist. So with the ending, we find out. I knew Aaron was involved. I just want to state this. I knew from the beginning with that whole challenging the manhood. But after he kills Fisk, we find out what really is transpiring, that Aaron apparently is the guy. So I was convinced, Seanshank, that I was on a roll. I was like, I got it. I knew it from the beginning, right? We get there, and then Aaron reveals, as Cortez will show up in a little bit, like, actually, I'm not in charge. It was Stem. Stem was the real mastermind behind all this. They wanted you, and this is what all happened. And Asha was just basically killed as an added bonus by Fisk, as he mentions. Like, it was just an added bonus to kill your wife. Like, we didn't have to. And we shot you with a medical device to make you paralyzed. Like, I felt so bad for Gray, because I was like, what? Talk about like the worst day of your life. And I'm just like, you just happen to be the wrong guy who showed up to do this thing. And you just happen to be a non-technological dude. And Stem was like, that's my guy. So, naturally, when Gray finds out, he wants to basically, he wanted to hurt Aaron. And then, Cortez shows up, and she's like, don't kill. Now, this is where we start to learn about Stem, right? Stem's true colors, once it's revealed, comes out. And Stem is just going to kill anybody at this point, because now the jig is up, right? So, like, what did you think of this whole ending, basically? I just kind of gave a generalization of it, but what did you think of the ending and then the twist?
I actually didn't really think that Aaron was the bad guy. I thought it was going to be, there's a brief period of time when he goes up to the hacker, and you've got the vessel people, and then I don't remember the name of the rival company right now.
Cobalt.
Cobalt. I thought we're gonna see a face to face with like the two factions, but instead they were a non-issue. But I guess I thought maybe like Cobalt's. I don't know. I guess I thought it was going to be some sort of like even higher up, like, or like a rival, like overlord creator that was really at the head of it. I didn't predict that it was Arno was in on it, or that Stem was the real ringleader of the whole thing. As far as the ending, the reason why I like the ending for me is because it ends so bleakly. It's not often that a movie will go there. Like, people love a happy ending, but instead this is the worst ending, because basically Cortez gets killed. I mean, she's just an innocent. And this is going to sound really funny, but her getting killed like that is probably why I like the end. Yeah. And the poor lady does not deserve to die. Like, I'm not saying I am I'm hardly saying that, but I'm saying that I respect a movie that goes there. Like that will, generally speaking, if a movie goes there and just says, yeah, we're not going to pull our punches. That's when I really start to respect and like a movie. And that's why, like, I mean, this, I think a lot about movie ratings. Unfortunately, I think it's in the nature of our current Letterboxd. I love Letterboxd, but it also makes you think throughout a movie, like, what am I going to rate this? And I was at like a 4-star. That made it a 4.5 star because it went there. If it was some sort of, and I will tell you the other thing, I was super scared, and they did this on purpose. I was super scared when they show him waking up in the hospital bed and there's his wife. I was like, yo, are they going to do the dream thing? Because if they do the dream, like, coma thing, this sucks. This movie could, you know what? So that's what I'm going to tell you. This movie could have gone two ways. It could have gone, hey, this was like he was in a coma, and this is like some sort of movie to warn you about what could happen. But don't worry, everyone, she's still alive. It really didn't happen. But instead, it's STEM implanting this in his brain so he goes to sleep and lives in Fantasyland with his wife. So STEM can completely take over his body, mind, and soul. Well, maybe his soul is with his wife, but you know what I'm saying. And then not only offs Arno, but offs Cortez and just walks towards the screen. And it's like, yep, you might as well just extrapolate from here and figure out what's going to happen next, because it's probably not going to be good for society. That for me, like, that's why I like the.
I will say this: the ending, my jaw dropped because I was like, oh no, like, because the ending kind of really goes back to this whole man versus machine or human versus technology, right? And you're right. There's two avenues it could have went through with the dream. When we finally see when he threatens to kill himself so that Cortez can be spared. We get the dreamlike sequence with Asha. My heart sank because I'm like, oh no. Because I was just like, it's not real, Gray. I knew it wasn't real. And I was just like, oh no, do not give in. Because that's the human element of us. We want to see him prevail. But truthfully, the movie, you're right. It has to go there. It cannot restrain itself. After the whole point of this movie was it's never going the way you think it's going to go. It says the plot is like it's this kind of this revenge action with different vibes of different genres, but it's constantly surprising you with the fact that there's more to it. So if it would have just ended with basically throwing out that formula, it would not have the impact. Now with the fact that Gray basically is brain dead. That's what I guess I interpreted. He's brain dead, living in this fantasy world. STEM is taken over, shoots Cortez, and is walking. Yeah, it is a scary thought of what is going to happen to the world. Like they even teased briefly in this movie about superior races. We're not even worried about that anymore. We're worried about what is happening with STEM, that STEM didn't even want any more versions or extra copies of its technology out in the world. It wanted to be one singular thing out in this world, and it's now evolving. Yeah, it was a scary thing, but I think that's what makes this movie so good, is even if you want to see Gray succeed, at the end of the day, I mean, he let's say he survives, right? I mean, is he going to really have a good life? I mean, he's going to be pretty much struggling with Asha's death now that everything is done. Like, it's never going to be over for him. But yeah, that's a haunt. I was haunted, Seanshank, by that ending, because I'm just like, oh no, like, what is going to happen to this world? Like, and probably people in that universe are probably like, am I going to be able to get a printed pizza now? Or I got to worry that STEM is going to do, horrible damage to whatever it does in the world. So you did give it 4.5. So I usually do at 100%. So I would give this, I guess it would be 4 stars. I would give it 83%. I don't know why I didn't. I wish I loved it as much as everybody else, but I really dug it. But I would give it like an 83% because that is mostly attributed to what you just talked about with the ending. If they would have copped out, I would have been like,
oh yeah, I would have been, this is trash.
I would have been like, what is the point of this?
Yeah. So, but no, it goes there. and I respect a movie that goes there. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm just gonna go with I'll go with 90%, which is 4.5, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, for me, it's a 90. It does so much so well. It really brings up so many in an entertaining action sci-fi gift wrapping. It really brings up a lot of great issues about humanity and technology and about how it's slowly creeping into our lives and taking over. And we're thrilled because it's printing our pizzas. We love pizza, but it's also taking over our minds and forcing us to kill people. And what I'm saying, like, I think it really does, like, all the dichotomies, I think it does it all really well. And I did this movie. I'm going to say this: the budget was $17 million.
Whoa. It was like District 9 level with the budget, how good it looks.
Yeah, that's great, by the way.
Yeah, I'm a huge District 9 guy. So in terms of action movies, like let's say modern day action movies, would this end up in a list of like if you made a list of top modern action movies, you think you would maybe put this in like top 25, top 50?
You know what? I'm going to contradict myself a little bit. No, like I think this is a sci. I think I would include it in maybe like a top 25 sci-fi movies. I'm not saying it's not an action movie. There's plenty of action. There's plenty of fights. There's a whole car chase. There is action. But I mean, as far as action movies, probably not. But as far as sci-fi movies, yes, 100%. As far as yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I agree. I was so worried though when I finished it because I was like, is Seanshank gonna be like going like, I thought you were doing action movies. Like, what is this? Like, I was so worried, but then I was like, we'll just see how it goes.
Yeah, no. I mean, look, we don't need to. I don't believe in boxes. Like, things can be. You asked me. I'm gonna. Sorry for this aside. You asked me favorite movies. For me, um, 10 Things I Hate About You is one of the greatest films ever made. And the reason why I say that is because it's one of the greatest teen movies ever made. It's one of the greatest romance movies ever made. It's one of the greatest Shakespeare adaptations ever made. It's one of the greatest comedies ever made. It does so many genres well that I think but I'm not going to call it one or the other. Like some people, one of the greatest high school movies ever made. These are all genres. Oh, the high school movie. Oh, the teen romance movie. Oh, the Shakespeare adaptation. These are genres. It fits all these boxes and does all these boxes super well. And I think the same thing with Upgrade. It does action well, does sci-fi well, it does the revenge fantasy well. Death Wish is the classic revenge movie. I mean, like, it's not science fiction whatsoever. Like, these are all genres, but Upgrade is doing them all at a high level.
I love the way you think. Yeah, that is a very good way to look at it. And it's true. Like, a lot of movies fit many boxes, like, not just one box, it's in many. And I love 10 Things I Hate About You. That is a very good movie. Yeah, it was just so funny because this movie would probably be the only of the themes of this action that I've done that is probably the one that has so many different things about it. Now, you did answer this earlier in your introduction about would you buy it? You did buy it on 4K, the Blu-ray combo, right? Is that what you did?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I would definitely buy it. Yeah, I definitely think it's worth a rewatch. What about you? Do you think it's worth a rewatch? Well, I mean, you own it, so I assume yes.
Yeah, I mean, so I will say that for me, I can be pretty I can be pretty sentimental. So for me, I bought it partially because I'm recording a podcast on it. So for me, it's part of my life story now. So I wanted to have it in my collection. But now that I own it, sure, I could see myself watching it again, especially because, like you said, I think you kind of said that like when you know more, when you know the ending, you know that's everything about Stem and Arno, like it might become a different movie, to a degree, to a smaller degree than maybe other movies like that, like The Sixth Sense, for example. But like, yeah, I could see myself. And the other reason why I picked this, by the way, hour and 40 minutes, fantastic. Me and there's another podcast I've been on called Bad Movies We Love with Nick Scheist. Me and him are part of the 90-minute movie club. 90 minutes. Movies are too long. Anyways, so that's part of the why I picked it. Hour and 40 minutes. Fantastic. It was great.
Yeah, I do appreciate you doing the runtime. Yeah, because I do agree, movies should be a little short. Not everything has to be 2 hours or 2 hours plus. And this concludes Upgrade. I cannot lie, Seanshank. I had an absolute blast with you. Like, I had approached a lot of different guests, and I was hoping that you were going to do it because I believe everybody who's a Movie Friends fan are like the best parts of the film community on Twitter. I've yet to meet someone I didn't like. Everyone's good people, but really getting to talk to you, you have, I call it the film vision. Your film vision is so crystal clear. Like, you're seeing things that I haven't seen, that it makes it more a fun conversation now, because now when I watch Upgrade, like you, I always think about when we did this episode, and it will be one of those things that I love watching movies with people, or doing podcast reviews with people, because I'm always going to remember that particular moment, because that's some of the times the best parts about watching movies is sometimes the memories that come with it, of who you're with or where you were at in life. And so thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, so I want to say to you, one, thank you for having me. Thank you for all the kind things you said about me. I like being a podcast guest. I don't see myself ever having my own podcast for numerous reasons. One of those reasons is I don't think I have the skill set to be a host. You do. You're an excellent host. And, this has been a pleasure for me because, you know what you're doing. So definitely, like, look, I'm just going to say, like, as much as what you said about me as a guest, I feel about you as a host.
Well, thank you so much. That is really kind of you to say, because this has been a journey. Because, like I said, if you ever listen to the first episode, you will figure out what exactly happened to Tomorrow Comes Movies and why it's been rebooted.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I do actually see a couple of sort of similarities between this and Uncut Gems, which I just watched last night. I'm not going to go into it because it'd be super spoilery and we're ending the episode. But I did watch Uncut Gems purposefully so I could listen to that episode. So I will.
And if you do listen to the episode, you could please send me some feedback, because I'm curious about what you think of the episode because of the guests I have. It's when you understand when you hear it. But real quick,
you mentioned that he's like a friend of yours, right?
Yeah, Ray and I actually, when I lived in Arizona, him and I met at the movie theater. But he is what I call an acquired taste, and once you hear some of the stuff he says, you're going to be like, "What? But Seanshank, if people want to follow you on social media or your letterbox, where can they go? If you want to share it.
So that's fine. Yeah. So on Twitter, my name is Tyler_Burnham. The Tyler is Tyler Durden from Fight Club. And the Burnham is Lester Burnham from American Beauty. So if you're not sure how to spell either one, it's Tyler as Tyler Durden from Fight Club _ Burnham, the Lester Burnham from American Beauty. As I said, they are two of my top four. So yeah, you can follow me. And then my letterboxd is just Sean Bennett. That's my name. So you can find me at Sean, Sean, Irish way of spelling it, and then Bennett, like Tony Bennett, Bennett. So Seanbennett.
And I will do them a solid if they can't conceive the thought of actually having to learn how to spell or look it up. I will put in the show notes because I know what they're going to do, Seanshank, is they're just going to ask Grok to do it for them. And we know that they're going to do this. But thank you so much for coming on. And I hope to have you back on.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Maybe you could do like one of the other movies I was thinking of or something completely different, but I'd be honored to be on again. Thank you.
Thank you so much to Seanshank for coming on to the show. It was an absolute blast to talk to you. And editing this episode was kind of fun because I got to really basically dive into this episode since we recorded it. And I learned so much about technology that's happening around me. ChatGPT orders for Starbucks, Waymos, DoorDash robots, Little Caesars doing possibly drone deliveries, social media. It was crazy. But the cool thing is Seanshank and I are on a similar page about AI, and I got to be honest, I don't really like AI. So that was a fun conversation to do about a movie, about technology. And note to self as well, just make your own food. Don't print it. But this is the end of the episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you haven't already, wherever you're listening to podcasts, you're using basically, whatever you're doing to tune in, make sure you hit the follow button so you can stay up to date when we drop new episodes. If you're watching the YouTube version, make sure you hit the subscribe button and also the bell notification so you can stay up to date when new episodes drop. You can go to youtube.com/@TOCmovies. And with the podcast apps, we're on everything. I forgot to mention that. Deezer, Amazon, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple, you name it, we're on it. And social media-wise, we're on the same handle for everything across the board, @TOCmovies. So TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky. And for anything I mentioned just now, if you don't want to type it, just go to the show description, in the episode, whether on YouTube or the podcast app. Just go to the show description and you'll see the link tree. Hit that. That'll take you to everywhere you need to go. So, yeah, I'm trying to think, what do I have to say before I end this episode? So, yeah, more action series is coming out, more hidden gems of cinema, more things are coming out. So, even though I'm on a 2 to 3 week break, there's plenty of episodes that are going to be coming out, and I'm very excited for you to tune in. So, I am the Patrick, your host. Until next time, stay tuned for another episode of Tomorrow Comes Movies.